Welcome to Time to Unpack Talk Show. I am your host, Tiffany Singleton. I am so excited today. We are going to be talking about marriage as it relates to intimacy and sex. Today we have on our show Miss Angie Woods, and I am going to let her introduce herself. Welcome to the show, Angie.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thanks for having me. As she said, my name is Angie Woods. Harmon is my maiden name and my Facebook name. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I am the CEO and founder of Empowering Lives Global Academy, Empowering Lives Counseling and Consulting, and Empowering Lives Foundation. So my whole purpose and my brand is to empower lives.
Awesome. So glad to have you, Angie.
Thank you.
All right, so let's jump right in. So today we are going to focus on marriage and kind of a touchy subject for some, which is sex and intimacy. So let's stop here because I don't ever like to assume that everybody knows the difference. So enlighten us on what is the difference between intimacy and sex?
So the difference is intimacy has everything to do with closeness, trust, and most of all, the connectedness. So you have to be connected. And now sex is just the actual physical act of sexual intercourse. I like to put it like this. The penis and the vagina get together and have a little party.
Okay.
But you need to have intimacy with the sex in order for it to make a difference.
Okay. So when we talk about intimacy, so what does that actually look like? Like, what does someone need to do with their spouse to build intimacy?
The first thing you need to do is know one another.
Okay.
And so even in marriages, if you didn't take the time to get to know your spouse before you got married, a lot of energy is spent getting to know them in the marriage. So what you can do, the number one thing I would recommend is communication. Communication is key. If you don't talk to one another, there's no way for you to know what the other person wants, what they like, what they expect, because everyone has goals for the relationship. So that's one of the main things to create intimacy. I also believe you need to find the commonalities. What is it that you two like to do that you have in common? So, and even if it's not a commonality, for instance, going to the movies, watching certain shows. My husband likes movies with folks' heads flying all over the room, or, wild stuff, or violence sometimes, but I prefer more love stories and love movies. So sometimes we kind of go and the commonality is the movie.
Yes.
So the fact that we're there together makes the difference. And so that's one of the things that brings about intimacy. Doing things together, like cooking. If one cooks, the other one can do the dishes. Laundry, we can fold clothes together. So different things like that helps produce the intimacy, because what you're doing is you're learning that person. And when you learn that person, it helps you to draw close. Lots of times people think intimacy is created with sex.
That's right.
But that's not the case.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So that means that once, you get married, dating should still exist. Romance should still exist.
Absolutely.
But in most cases, you find that some people, once they get married, everything stops.
Right.
Shouldn't they keep dating?
Absolutely. You should. Keep doing those things that it took to get the person.
That's right.
Because, one of the things I did, and I'm very transparent with my relationship, when my husband went away to Bosnia, he served 20 years in the Army. And when he was in Bosnia, while he was away, of course, it was devastating, depressing, because I was used to having him there.
Gotcha.
But when he was away, I took the time to order every piece of lingerie, every outfit. I had choreographed dances for him.
Wow.
I ordered me a feather boa. I put on dances.
Okay.
I did candlelight, bubble baths. We were very, very romantic.
Yes.
And so those are things that throughout the relationship, I don't care how much weight I gain, there's a lingerie for every shape, size.
Okay.
So you put it on and you keep that romance going. And then the dates are very important, because now you're getting away, you're communicating again. That's key. That's the foundation. You're able to talk about different things. Have that time away. One of the things we do for our anniversary every single year is we invest greatly in our marriage.
Wow.
So we make sure every year we get away. So we do Ritz-Carlton.
Wow.
We go all the way. We do downtown Atlanta on horse and buggy rides. So we do a lot of things, jazz, dancing. And although I'm an ordained minister, I believe in dancing. And, certain things I don't stop just because I'm a Christian.
That's right.
I'm still married and have an obligation to my husband. So I think those dates are very important because once we're in a different environment, it kind of rejuvenates everything.
Gotcha.
And it makes a shift in us mentally and emotionally.
And I often hear people use the excuse or say, well, it's not all about that. And, well, he should like me for who I am. That's true. But aren't men are physical. They are visual, right? So visually, some of the things you suggested should be considered within the marriage, like to even keep the husband engaged.
Absolutely. It's important to do that. And then find out, ask. A lot of reasons why the marriages suffer is because no one wants to ask the question.
There you go.
Honey, what is it that you would like to see me in?
Ooh, that's good.
And what type of clothes? Do you like this lingerie? Because I'm always doing something. I go in the living room and bend over while he's watching TV and picking up paper that ain't even on the floor.
Help the people, Angie.
Right. Pick up paper that's not even on the floor, but you got a visual.
Okay.
Because they're going to look anyway. So if you're going to look at somebody, look at me.
Okay.
And so give them something to look at. And a lot of times people are afraid, because their bodies are changing, especially during COVID.
Right.
I know I put on some pounds.
Yeah.
And eventually I'll get them off. I've lost weight 100 times. But the key is, regardless of how much weight I gain, I still have a husband.
That's right.
And I'm still going to entertain.
Awesome. So if the intimacy is absent, how does that impact the sex life?
The intimacy is needed in order to help the sex life be stronger. Because one without the other is almost like cornflakes without milk.
Ooh.
You need everything together. And so having that intimacy and the sex, you got the closeness, you got that connection. So now when you come together, it's like an explosive encounter, and you know it when it happens. And that's what you want to keep. You don't just want to go through the motions and have sex and just lay there and say, okay, he wants sex, I'm going to give him sex. No, you want to also connect. That is so important. I can't expound on that word enough, but the connection during the sex is what is key.
And even for the men, maybe helping some of the men to understand that for the woman, it is emotional, it is mental. Because while the men might be easily aroused or easily stimulated, if a woman has too much stuff on her mind,
Absolutely.
What does that do?
Absolutely. So you have to be able to make that shift. For instance, I work during the day for the federal government.
Okay.
In the evening, I'm a therapist. So what I do is I shut down the government job at a particular time so I can make the shift to my clients.
Okay.
So now that I'm done with my clients, I'm about to make a shift to go downstairs with my husband and my puppy. And then I make another shift when I'm getting ready to go to bed with my husband. So we have to make sure that our minds are clear so that we're able to properly be in the moment. So when I'm at work during the day, I'm not thinking about my clients. That's there when I get there. When I'm with my clients, I'm not thinking about my husband. He'll be there when I get there. So every area that I'm in, you have to be in the moment so you're fully engaged and fully connected.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So the importance of communication. So let's say someone's in a marriage and they kind of feel unfulfilled. They don't know each other's love languages. How should they navigate that?
First of all, take the love language assessment, and after you do the love language assessment, you're able to discover what that love language is. For instance, my husband's love language is quality time. So mine is physical touch. So he doesn't mind if I'm in the room. I need to be touching in the room. And so you have to be able to balance that. And if you're speaking the different love languages, it's like someone speaking Spanish. And I use this when I go to present to children. I'll have the teenagers, I'll say, can someone speak to me in Spanish? Give me a directive, something to do in Spanish. And they tell me. And I look around the class, I say, what did you see me do? Nothing. Why? Because I didn't understand the language you were speaking.
That's good.
So when we're speaking the same language, we're on the same page, and now I can produce because I understand what's expected of me. And so that's very important in the relationship, being able to connect in that way. Okay, so if you're unfulfilled, the key is to communicate. Let them know. And a lot of times people feel like, well, you know, if I ask him this question, or if I say this is what I want or this is what I like, they may think I'm trying to compare them to my ex. But that doesn't, if you have an ex, that's not always the case, because your body is your body. And your body responds to what your body responds to. It doesn't matter who touch it.
Okay.
And so you have to be able to let them know, when you touch me this way, this is how it makes me feel. And you don't even have to say what somebody else used to do to you back in 1920. You can say what your spouse does. When you touch me this way, this really turns me on. I want you to stay right there. Don't you move. Stay right there. And it's
gotta be straight up. Yes.
Be honest with them, because the goal in marriage is not to divorce. The goal is to stay married. And because we're going to stay married, one of the things my husband and I do, and we used to teach how to resolve conflict in marriage, but one of those things is, before you even go into the conversation, you let them know, hey, you know, there's an issue here. I want to discuss this. We know we're not going to leave each other, but it's some areas I feel we need to step up in. So let's have a conversation about yada, yada. And it's okay to go to an intimate place.
Yes.
Go to a park. Go somewhere where it's almost impossible to argue. And you resolve immediately. We're not going to argue, but this conversation is for understanding. So I want you to hear me out, and I want to hear you out.
That's good.
And let's get this thing resolved.
That's good. Now, for the busy professionals, for the busy lives, I hear a lot of couples state that, you know what, it's so much going on, and by the time we get home and get the kids settled and this, we're so exhausted that we just don't even have time for each other. What would you suggest as a way to balance for couples that may be in that situation?
One of the things I just recommended to a couple was to make sure they set aside some time. Put it on your calendar. At 7:00 p.m., we're having dinner in the bedroom. We can do a candlelight, and I'm going to have my lingerie on, or he doesn't even have to know you're going to have it on. You just bust out the bathroom with it on. And you come in, you can sit down in your lingerie, or you can come out in your little sexy dress, whatever you feel. You know, fix yourself up, do your dinner, have your slow music playing, because you're setting the mood for what's about to take place. Kids are in the bed, let them stay in the bed. They're not going to die if they cry a little bit. You do what you have to do for your spouse, because when you got married and decided to have children, the children were not to take the place of your spouse.
Ooh, that's
you
good.
Gotta give them space.
That's good right there.
Children have to be in their place, and you carve their time out to love on them. But when it's time for you to go in your bedroom with your spouse, that's not even the place for the baby to be.
Right.
The baby got their own baby bed in their own baby room. And so you allow your husband or your spouse to have that time.
Okay. And coming from the female perspective, can you suggest some ways that maybe the husband can help the wife if she feels overwhelmed? She wants to be able to devote time to him, but she may need his help to get to that place with some of the duties or whatever she might be bogged down with.
Absolutely. He could definitely do some chores and send her away to get a massage, have her a spa day, different things of that nature. Definitely take the children. It's okay to take the children to the park or Chuck E. Cheese, if Chuck E. Cheese is still around.
I know.
My son is 33. But, things of that nature. So just making sure, because it's important. And then again, the wife needs to say, honey, do you mind? Or use the I statements. I always stress
Yeah,
the
I
I
love those.
statements. Honey, I feel really tired.
Yes.
I would love it if you could help relieve me
That's
of
good.
some of these duties. I know you love our children. I love our children. But right now, I'm a little stressed.
Yes.
And I would love it if you could help me find ways where I can get a little break and take it to them like that versus you always tired. Don't you see me walking around here running, pulling my hair out? Yes, delivery is everything, especially to these African-American men.
Oh, yes.
Because they will shut down in a heartbeat and not doing nothing.
That's right. That's good. Communication. All right. So let's say that there is a couple that really, they are, sexually active. The intimacy seems to be present. But then someone may be tired of what we would call boring sex, or they may want to add a little spice to the marriage, but they're not sure how to communicate that to the spouse. What's some ways that they can maybe approach that subject?
I would approach it with demonstration, not with verbal, but I would bring something in extra to add to the room. It may be some candles.
Sorry, y'all. Listen, Angie's gonna keep it real, okay?
Bring something in that makes it a little, whatever that means to you. And you bring it in and you do whatever you feel you need to add that spice. Because if you're feeling like there's some spice that needs to be added, then apparently there's something you already have in mind. So go ahead and demonstrate. Most men don't care what you do. The end result's gonna be the same.
All right, so let's go here. So there might be some Christian women that are also saved, but at the same time are not comfortable having sex with their husband or trying different things, or even kind of reserved in wearing lingerie. Isn't it okay to wear lingerie if you're married, even though you're saved?
Absolutely. It is okay. And the Bible, the scripture is full of, if you're that deep in the scripture, you need to go and read the Songs of Solomon. It talks a whole lot about sex. The scripture says that the married bed is undefiled. So you're okay to do whatever it is you and your spouse agrees upon. I do believe in keeping family and church folks out of your bedroom, out of your relationship. Make sure that you are on one accord. Your spouse is the one you're out to please.
That's right.
So whatever they want to see you in is what you can go put on and do that. That's between the two of you.
Yeah.
And so I certainly agree with that. Some people are a little too deep sometimes. I remember being in a ministry and the minister was up speaking and she said, women, when you put on that lingerie, you make your husbands lust after you. And I was sitting there, I was a young Christian. I didn't know Jesus started with a J. I didn't know a whole lot about the word, but I do know this. I was not about to take off my lingerie. I'm a young wife, and I was going to do whatever it took. I remember when we were in Germany and our husbands were coming back in from the war, from Bosnia, I think it was. And some of the ladies from my church was up there with those long dresses on, with those little bobby socks and sneakers to greet their husbands from the war. He's been gone. Do you really think that's how I'm going to greet mine? Some women went up in a trench coat only. And so it all depends on what your relationship is.
Yes.
And so you can be deep if you want them.
Yeah.
But I'm going to, as for me and my house, we're going to serve one another. And that means, whatever it takes for us. But so, yes, I think it is perfectly okay to wear lingerie and be saved. And Jesus really does not care.
Okay. All right. And so on the flip side of that, then we may have couples that may run into some issues that cause their marriage to be sexless. Whether that could have resulted from infidelity, whether that can just be losing interest in one another. Oh, so let's start there first. So let's say that I don't feel like my spouse is interested in me right now, or I I feel like I'm no longer interested in him. Is there a way to bring that fire back to the marriage, or how can we restore that attraction and passion for each other?
Okay. The first thing I would do is send the mate that's having the problem to the doctor to rule out any physiological issues, because if there's diabetes, if there's circulatory problems, because erections come as a result of blood flow. If the blood flow has been cut off in any type of way, then that will prevent an erection. And so if that's happening, the female may think, oh God, he doesn't love me, or something wrong with me, when it's actually something going on internally with him. So now, after you go to the doctor and you've ruled out the physiological problems, and we also look at the physical problems. Is it anything going on, any stressors in the home, behind on bills, student loans, all of these things that's so overpowering that has your mind where you can't focus. You know, even think about it with us on a job. If you got so much to do, it's like, wait a minute, where was I? You know, and it's the same way in a relationship. So after that happens and you ruled out all of those and then there are no issues, then you definitely want to work on some different things that we can do to bring that sex back into the relationship. And so some of the things I would recommend after you've ruled all those things out. Now, there are a multiplicity of things that we learn as a therapist that we can work with couples on. And that would probably be the next step, is go to therapy. You know, even as a marriage and family therapist, they teach us about like sensate focus and different things of that nature. So we teach them how to gradually touch each other in phases. And you touch every body part except for the part that's going to bring about that arousal. So your genitals, you leave that till last. And now, after you've done that, it begins to spark and put that heat back in there and whatever it takes. And then we have to make sure that, you know, there are times, even in marriages with our busy lives, as long as you don't let the whole pilot light go out. You know, I thought about this past winter, our fireplace had not been on for years. And we thought something was wrong with the fireplace, but come to realize the pilot light had gone out. So it was hard trying to get that pilot light lit. But once we got it lit, we're like, we're going to keep this on. Now it's not a problem to just turn up the heat.
Turn it up.
So if we can just keep that pilot light lit and don't let it go all the way out. You know when your body starts feeling a certain way. So, okay, honey, it's time for a vacation. You know, let's go, let's get away from everybody, everything, cell phones, laptop, leave everything behind. And now let's go, just the two of us. And that's the best way to rekindle because that different environment does everything for a relationship.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, for the couples that may say, well, Angie, we can't really afford a getaway right now. What's some things that they could do locally or, you know, that's a little less expensive that would still do the same?
I would recommend your home. Get someone to come pick the children up or drop the children off to someone that you can trust. And then you turn your bedroom into a whole different environment. You can put rose petals on the bed. You can put a heart shape, put some panties and a plate on the bed. You know, whatever it is you choose to do to make it romantic. Light you some candles. Just don't get too crazy and knock the candles over and burn the bedroom up. And, you know, even your bathtub. You can set your bathtub up with candles going around. You can do floating candles in the water. So different things. There are many things you can do to rekindle and just make that magical moment with your spouse.
That sounds amazing. So it sounds like everything is built on that communication, knowing each other, and bonding.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And not be afraid to say what it is you want. I couldn't imagine not being open and honest with my husband. You know, I'm like, honey, we need this. You know, I even told my husband when I was gaining weight, I said, honey, did you ever think you'd have this much to love? He said, did you ever think you'd have this much love to give?
I love it.
So we always got, we have comebacks for one another.
That's amazing.
And so it's like and I even asked him, I said, do you find me less attractive because I've gained weight?
Yeah.
He said, not at all.
No.
But one thing that will make a man find you less attractive, which is what he shared with me, is your attitude. So if that attitude changes, now they back up.
Got you.
And so definitely you want to keep that in check. Don't talk to him any kind of way. And again, go back to those I statements. And I definitely have to do that with my husband. It's not that he's sensitive, it's that he demands respect. And that's the way to give it to them. Step to them right with communication, and you get anything you want.
Wow, that's awesome. And so just for the final discussion for this session, because I know we can go on and on and on. So let's say that someone may have had a situation that caused infidelity in the marriage. What are some ways, because I know that's a hard thing for couples to restore trust, to even become intimate ever again for some people. So as a therapist, what are some ways that you would say that trust can be restored to that marriage?
Okay. One of the ways, the person that has been betrayed, they have to first realize that it's not about you. It's about that person, and it's an issue they have. Because a lot of times as women, we'll automatically think, oh my God, am I too big? Am I too small?
Something
am I
was
too?
wrong.
And then men, do I have enough muscles? Is he a businessman? Does he drive a Mercedes or does he have a slingshot?
Right.
So we'll start comparing. That's the main thing we do.
Yes.
And that's the worst thing we can do because comparison will now opens up the door for your esteem to be lowered because now you're trying to compare or measure up to somebody who doesn't even matter.
Gotcha.
So if my husband were to step out on me, it has nothing to do with me. That's you.
Right.
That's an issue you have. And now we need to work with one another first to see, and I guess I'm thinking from a therapist, what is it that caused you to go there?
That's right.
And so that would be one of my main things. And that's something I would recommend for any spouse to ask. What happened that made you go there? Was it something I've done? Have I driven you or pushed you to a point where you feel like you can't talk to me, somebody else at the bar is talking? Because those women at happy hour, they're talking.
Right.
And so you want to make sure you're not driving them and pushing them to happy hour. And another thing is making sure that, and I did say that we often think it's our fault, but sometimes, for the most part, it's not our fault.
Right.
But there are times when we could say or do things to push them away.
Okay.
And then we also want to make sure that it's nothing going on with them. Sometimes, and in therapy, we talk about with the internal family systems, we have what we call the firefighters and the exiles. So the exiles are those who carry all this hurt, this pain. We don't know what's going on internally. So the firefighter, that's where the firefighter in them comes in, and now you're trying to put out the fire. You're suppressing that emotion with alcohol, drugs, and sex. It has nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with the fact that the spouse hasn't articulated that need. And so now they have an internal thing going on, a battle that's going on. It could be tension on their job. They're afraid they're about to lose their job, which means they're already thinking, I could lose my house, I could lose my spouse, I could, And so because of that, they're trying to suppress those emotions. And the firefighter in them says, I'm just going to put it out. I don't want to feel this pain. I just want to do away with it right now. So to suppress it. But after that fire, the hose is gone. Now that reality sets in and that problem is still there. So we have to be able to communicate again and articulate what it is we need. So now when the infidelity has taken place, and we've asked those questions, what could I have done, or what did I do, or what happened that made you make that decision? We have to be careful not to ask the wrong questions.
Ooh.
Now, we want to know, where was it? Who was it? How many times? Did she stand you on your head? Did you flip up? All of those things. Some of that stuff you really don't want to know.
That's right.
But you ask the main questions. What was it that led you here? And then if you need to know all the other just to satisfy your desire to know, then it's okay to ask. But once you ask and you decide, okay, we're going to make this thing work.
Right.
The one who betrayed the trust has to do everything in their power to restore it. That means daily check-ins.
That's right.
You destroyed it. There are consequences to every behavior.
That's right.
So you got to do what it takes. She don't trust that you just going to the store to loaf for bread. Why is it taking you too long? Bread is on aisle 10.
That's right.
So you got to call to say, I'm in traffic.
That's right.
And these are things that you have to do until that trust is restored.
That's good.
But I've seen the trust has been restored. I've seen marriages come back together.
Yes.
They're on cloud 9.
Yes.
The relationship is even stronger than ever before.
That's right.
So there's nothing that we can't overcome when you have two people willing to work together.
That's awesome. And one other thing I think we should plug is forgiveness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is meaning I forgive you for what you done. Now, that don't mean I forgot.
That's right.
I forgive you. And now the trust comes over time.
Yes.
Forgiveness could come right now because I just want my heart pure in case Jesus come in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I trust you. So you got to work on that. And that's where those daily check-ins and things of that nature comes in. And even that person, if you went out and did something and you violated your covenant, your marriage relationship, now you have to make sure you're not the one arguing and, well, you always don't trust that. No. You got to come in too with your I statements.
That's right.
Honey, I understand what you're feeling.
That's right.
If I were to go through that same thing, I would feel exactly what you're feeling. And a lot of times we see when you're caught, that's a whole new ball game because now it's another level of forgiveness or, honey, I'm sorry, on a different level. But making sure that you are genuine with it, whether you're caught or not, you still want to make sure that it's something you won't do again and that you're going to do your part to make it work.
Awesome. Right. That's good. All right. So in wrapping up and summarizing everything we stated today, what would you want to leave our audience with as it relates to what we've discussed already?
Making sure that, especially with the young couples, my husband and I met, well, my boyfriend at the time, we met when we were 15 years old.
Wow.
And we really took the time to get to know each other. And as we grow, things shift and change. Our desires change.
Yes.
Our needs change.
That's good.
I didn't have this makeup face. When he met me, I was a plain Jane, skinny body, didn't have a curve nowhere.
Wow.
But things change.
Yes.
Bodies change, our needs, everything.
I'm glad
Emotions.
you pointed that out. Yes.
And because of that, we have to be willing to stick it out with that person regardless, because you didn't marry them. You shouldn't marry for the body. You marry for the heart. And when that person loves you genuinely and unconditionally, it doesn't matter what you go through. I've seen people with spouses in wheelchairs and they love them just like they did the day they walked down the aisle.
That's right.
So that's when you know you genuinely love someone.
Yes. All right. So if anybody wants to seek you for therapy services or just to follow you on social media, how would they do so?
My social media, Facebook is Angie Harmon Woods. My website is empoweringlives.net.
All right. Well, this has been such a great conversation, and I look forward to having you back because there's so many other things that we can cover with this topic.
Yes.
But I do appreciate you coming on to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And I pray that this is a blessing to many of the couples out here worldwide, whoever has access to the video. And thank you so much for being open and transparent because that's what we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
thank
you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, see you next time.